More than 1,300 people attended this year's State of the Valley conference, sponsored by joint venture Silicon Valley. Held each February since 2005, the conference pulls together entrepreneurs who are reshaping America's future to solve the most pressing needs that face the most dynamic economic engine in the U.S.
This is the State of the Valley Conference. We do this once a year. We've been doing this every year since 2005. You should think of it as an old-fashioned town hall meeting. It's when everybody comes up out of their trenches and out of their foxholes, and they go to the high school gymnasium, and they talk about bigger issues. They talk about the big picture. They talk about our region, what our trends are, what our challenges are, how do we mobilize to address them.
One of the biggest issues this year, growth and expansion that are putting an extraordinary strain on the Valley's infrastructure, where highways have become parking lots.
In a valley where everyone is so driven by a lot of very important individual pursuits, we need connective tissue in the valley. A joint venture provides to bring people together to tackle our common challenges. And many of these challenges might be the immediate traffic congestion, how we can deploy greater technologies to improve mobility. There might be the long-term challenges we face, for example, with sea level rise around the bay. Whatever those challenges are, they require collective action and they require collective thought leadership. That's where joint venture Silicon Valley is so essential.
Jeffrey Tumlin, transportation planner who's won national awards for cutting CO2 emissions in 20 states and 5 countries, says Silicon Valley could easily become America's biking capital. It's flat and with warm weather most of the year. But when the rubber meets the road, there are obstacles.
Part of the problem is that our infrastructure for biking is horrible. To the extent that we've got some of the best infrastructure in the world here in Silicon Valley, it's disconnected. So you can ride along the Guadalupe River path, it's great, and then it ends. Or you're stuck at a chain link fence and can't actually get to the corporate office park that's right across the street from it.
Another challenge is the cost of housing. The expensive housing market is pricing out the very workforce that built Silicon Valley, changing it from chip manufacturing to a land of headquarters and design. In 2016, IPOs were down slightly, along with mergers and acquisitions. Silicon Valley's economy, attracting $9 billion in venture capital, did not grow quite as fast as it did the year before.
My sense is that the economy is entering a short in-between period as we pivot into some new and promising areas like robotics and like artificial intelligence. It's clear that the internet was fueling the last wave of innovation and entrepreneurship, and so we got from that social media and the new sharing economy, internet-based commerce, through the force of data, and especially big data, and leveraging the power of data analytics to solve some big, complex problems. So that's where the economy seems to be headed.
If data mining is where we are headed, Stephen Goldsmith, a Harvard professor helping cities engage with constituents in the digital age, cautions government against invasion of privacy.
So there are really very serious issues about privacy and security. And the way to do that, I think, is to have a very open and transparent process, identify what the rules are, who gets the data, who keeps the data, what data is anonymized, are we going to do forensic analyses of what's happening with that data? Are we going to publish all that? I mean, the results of all that to the public. So very serious work on the security and privacy sides is required.
Best-selling author and New York Times columnist David Brooks warned of broader challenges, including a global trend in economic nationalism.
My view is that if you try to ignore politics, it's probable that politics won't ignore you. And that if you get a big global movement that's against immigration, and Steve Bannon, the head of the White House chief ideologist, is not only against illegal immigration. He said in a radio interview a few years ago it bothered him that so many Silicon Valley executives were born in foreign countries. So he's against even some of the high-skilled legal immigration that's coming here. And so those political rules, if they restrict immigration, if they restrict our trade, and especially I think we're going to be in a much more dangerous world as U.S. power, which has stabilized the world markets, is withdrawn, then the world markets will be disrupted. And already we see Russia, China, other countries beginning to reach in and sort of carve out their own rules.
Joint venture Silicon Valley also awarded its David Packard Award to Reed Hastings, Netflix CEO, for his lifelong contributions toward improving K-12 education.
In the city of New Orleans now, 95% of the kids go to a charter school. So it is possible to get really a whole city slowly over time into this nonprofit governance. Washington, D.C. is about half charter, Oakland's about a third, LA is about 25% of the kids now. So again, what this movement's really about is giving educators the chance to have a great working environment, to have the stability and leadership so that they can pioneer an approach.
The issues that Silicon Valley face will not be solved overnight, yet, as one example, with the median home price in Silicon Valley more than 5 times the national average, it is clear this region must pull together to find answers that may be applied elsewhere soon.